I'm so excited to interview somebody that needs no introduction. I mean, the ex-chief information officer of Gold's Gym, right? The CEO of Fitness Connection, and now I know we can't talk about some of the things that you're doing in this top secret kind of merger between healthcare and fitness, but it's going to be big and something really exciting to look forward to. So I'm sure everybody that's watching eventually is going to see some really amazing things happen. So I appreciate you making the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm always curious about like three people that influences people's lives and basically why. And so in your life, what are the three people that most influence your life?
Well, the three people that come to mind, first, no matter what you believe from a religious perspective, Jesus Christ has been someone that I really have followed. He was the greatest man ever to live, taught people how to live and actually how to put others first. And I think in business, that's critical, is making sure that you sacrifice your well-being many times for others. Second person, my father, never was a businessman, but came from the military and taught me how to work hard. I think that today, this generation, in many cases, doesn't really think about long hours working hard, right? And then finally, Steve Jobs loved his career. Just look at his ups and downs and kind of where he ended up and really thinking outside the box.
Yeah, it's amazing when you start looking at his organization. I was listening to a podcast earlier where Steve Jobs was, if you look at him outside of Apple, you would think, some of the things that he did within Apple were cruel sometimes. They made people cry and everything else. But in Apple, it was like they had their own rules of engagement, and they knew that that's what it was going to be like. And so it was okay as long as things that we don't think is acceptable outside, if you view it within Apple, it was fine. So it's a great thing.
Absolutely.
So, we all have like philosophies of making business decisions. And over the years, you've always picked winners, it seems, along the way. So can you share maybe some of your business decisions, your philosophies of how you make those business decisions?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I've found that it has to be a win-win decision for everybody involved. I think you're very short-sighted if you make a decision based on your own success and everyone else losing. It might feel good in the short run. You might win a lot. But I found long-term, you end up losing.
Awesome. And talk about like losing. I mean, everybody loves a comeback story. Everybody wants to hear about how like you were on the precipice of the edge looking down and how scary it was. What's your greatest comeback story?
It's very interesting. I'm asked many times why I got in the gym business, but the gym business really was an escape for me initially. And so I was running a pension software development company. And after about 2 years, I worked myself into the ground, and I was diagnosed by my primary care physician as having occupational depression. And it was at that point in my career, in my 20s, where I really wanted to be the CEO of a publicly traded company. And when my doctor told me I had depression, I felt like he could have told me I had cancer. I'd been better off. Because people look at mental health, kind of as something they don't talk about. And so I really my doctor said, quit my job. I quit running a software company. And a couple buddies from high school said, why don't you become a partner at Gold's Gym? And talked to my wife about it. She goes, do it for a year and then get a real job. And one thing led to another. And now I've had a career in the fitness industry, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, and that was when you were like 20, right? And so
yeah, I was in my 26, actually 27.
So it was like 2 years ago then.
Yeah, three years ago.
Awesome. Yeah. So your motivation was really your health, right?
It was completely my health, and it was something where, through depression, I felt like at that point, what could be worse? Work at a gym, how hard could it be? And it'd be a lot of fun. And it was a lot of fun, but it became a great career.
Well, it's funny, how hard could it be, right? Like
right.
all the owners right now are listening to this going, yeah, how hard can it be?
Right.
So what's great about the gym business, right, and is really the success within the gym business, right? It's the people that come up to you and say, you changed my life. Is there anybody like in your career that came up to you at a club that you've owned or at a gym that you worked at that said, you changed my life?
Yeah, I mean, it's been such a blessing being in the industry and seeing so many lives change. But there are two stories that really come to mind. In the 90s, I got in the gym business in 92, early 92. And during the 90s, there was, a recession. And I remember being at one location and a gentleman coming up who was a great member. And he said, I need to cancel my membership. And I said, well, what have we done wrong as an organization? He said, there's absolutely nothing you've done wrong. I love it here. This is the highlight of my week, but I've lost my job and I can't afford to be a gym member. And I told him, I said, getting a job, you need great mindset. You need to look your best. You're competing with a lot of people. And I said, here's what I want to do. I want to give you a free gym membership. We had training, tanning at the time, and also some training. I said, look, let me give you these services for free until you get a job. And he was like, really? I said, absolutely. Go out there and get a job. So after 60 days, he came back. He said, I got a job. And I was so excited. And he started paying for all the services that I gave him. And it was that one time where I looked at it and really saw where our product made a big difference. The second person was a couple years ago, kind of at our organization Fitness Connection. We had a young lady and her dad come in. She weighed 400 pounds. And we came up, saw her waiting, and said, how can we help you? And the father said, with a tear in eye, I need you to help my daughter. And so looked at the young lady and said, what are your goals? And she said, honestly, I'm just waiting to die. And that really struck me as just what a horrible position to be in. And so we got her engaged in some of our healthy living programs. She lost over a year. She lost about 200 pounds. She became an employee of ours. She won a number of state records in powerlifting. It was great. She got a new car. She got an education. It was wonderful to see that our product really had changed her life.
Yeah, it's amazing. When we look at reviews all the time, right, because social media and everything else, and those negative ones kind of sting, right? It's like reading, you can give the greatest performance of your life, but one person says you weren't good at that review, and you want to shoot yourself.
Right.
And it's amazing that these stories occur in all the clubs all over the world, and we're so fixated on the people that don't like us when these people exist and we really make a difference in changing your lives, which is great. So, you've been very successful in all the things that you did. If you could give everybody listening just one tip that says this is what made me most successful in the clubs, what would that be?
I really think looking at the product and service that we have is one that changes lives, and not many times I talk to operators who are just fixated on how many gym memberships that they sell or how many drinks did they sell, but not really on the lives that they've impacted. And so if we looked at our product more through the lens of this person, this might be the only place they're coming today that makes them feel really good. Right. So look at it more than just selling widgets, but actually in a way of changing lives.
So it'd be funny if you had a counter in the front of the gym, right? Lives changed, and every time, 1 billion lives changed instead of 1 billion burgers eaten, right?
Or 1 billion memberships sold, right?
Yeah, awesome.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm a big fan. You know it, and this is great. I hope everybody enjoyed the podcast today, and this was awesome.
So great. Thanks, David.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.